So we need to create 3 different color swatches based on these 3 color schemes: monochromatic, analogous, and complementary. If you don't know what monochromatic means, it means one color. Mono means one, chroma means color. So for instance, if you pick red or blue, dark blue, blue, light blue, very light blue, those are the only colors that would be in your color swatch. Analogous means colors that are next to each other on the color wheel, and complementary means colors that are across from each other on the color wheel. Not just the ones we normally think of, like red and green or yellow and purple, but just also take a look at these more interesting color combinations like yellow green with purple red. That's kind of a little more tropical. So don't just go for the ones we always think of, right? So let's go to Illustrator. You should just keep working in your triangles file. Let's open up a few windows. Window, color, window, color guide, and window swatches. Okay, so color and color guide are going to help you choose colors, and then swatches is going to be where you're going to actually save your color swatches, your palettes. Now, I want you to only use 5 or less colors for each swatch, and that's really important because we're making patterns and you don't want to have too many colors in a pattern that you're making because it's too busy. Patterns are busy, and then if you have like a million colors, it's gonna be like overwhelming. You can see I've got some colors in here. I'm gonna just clear it out. I want to start fresh. So I'm gonna let's grab the one after red. I'm gonna shift and click to select multiple. Whenever you press shift, it means add. And then we're gonna press the trash can to get rid of them and just say get rid of them. If there's any folders in here, you can just clear them out. You have 2 different views here, so it depends like what you like to look at. I kind of like this view. If you go to this menu, I'm going to change this to large thumbnail view so that the boxes get a little bit bigger. There's also list view that's like this. So that kind of depends on what you prefer. Let's start making some colors. I think the easiest thing to start with is the the monochromatic color scheme. You can see here we've got the color guide out, and right away it's showing me tints and shades. Remember, tint is when you add white and shade is when you add black. So then I've got this color box. The cool thing about this color box, we're working in RGB color mode file, which means that the way that the colors are mixing is red, green, and blue. So I can add more green, I can add more blue. So I kind of like these greens here. So I'm gonna click on, if this doesn't look like this, go to this arrow, and we want to find monochromatic. Oops, I forgot to save my green. Okay. Okay. So look at monochromatic and monochromatic 2. Monochromatic 2, you'll notice it has things that look a little bit more like a tone. A tone is when you add gray to your color. So let's just stick with using the monochromatic, because that's going to give you the most like a monochromatic color scheme than you could find. So once you kind of pick a color and you like it, let's talk about how to save them in your swatches. Okay, so say I click on a color here, in here. It should show up as the fill color box. In order to add this color that's in here into my swatches, I'm just going to click on this, which means new swatch, and I could give it a name, so maybe I'll call this olive green. I'll say okay. I'm also going to make a folder. This is going to be my monochromatic color palette. So right away, it's giving me some tints, and I can add those. And then look at how if I click on this one, it's giving me tints and shades of that tint. So remember to just pick your middle. When you're doing the monochromatic color scheme, start with a mid-tone, something that's not a light or a dark, something that's not a shade or a tint. Just pick a color that's a value that's a little bit more saturated and a little bit more mid-tones. And then from there, let's grab our tints. I can move that back in, and the nice thing is that I can just click and drag these in the order that I want. And remember, I have to go back to my original. I might want to so I also need to think about how many colors I'm using here. I don't want more than 5. And I want them to be kind of steps, right? From black to white with a color in the middle. So you're kind of creating a bridge tone, which means going from one color to another, and the mixing that happens there. So I'm just going to grab this little lighter. I think these aren't exactly the same. They're so similar that I may as well not use it. So at this point, maybe I'll just add white to my collection, and then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I might not want to use white, but I'm definitely going to use these colors. So now we're done with monochromatic. Let's go to a more complicated color scheme that is analogous. These are colors that are similar on the color wheel. Make a new folder here, and then let's call this Analogous. Say okay. All right, so I like to just go first. If this starts to look like this, you can bring it back by clicking the little button, and there's a menu here which changes, you know, if you're CMYK or RGB. Let's keep to RGB for now. Alright, colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. You might want to look at the actual color wheel for reference. And then let's go here, and then we can change to analogous, which is super handy. So I don't want, you know, the color guide doesn't need to do everything for you. You can also just use your brain and pick things, you know, on your own. And just remember that you're using, so notice that I'm changing color here. It changes the fill box, and this whole situation is based on the color that's in there. So if I click on that, then it should kind of change to that. But I kind of, actually, this, you know, you want to think about colors. You're not arbitrarily just picking colors, right? You've got some books in mind, and you're trying to choose colors based on those books. This might be nice for a book on plants or cooking or whatever, right? So you need to have the concept in mind before you blindly go in and start picking colors. So I might think about, okay, I'm going to do the book Alice in Wonderland. Or maybe this is the book 101 Nights from the Arabian Nights in the desert, because these are kind of deserty looking. This limits the colors. So there are also like pre-made colors. Let's look at ice cream. So ice cream has like some pre-made color sets. Okay, and then there's this, which is showing you a little more about how it's picking those colors. This color is the one that it's based on. If I want to use like a red and base it on red, this is helpful because I can see Analogous, right? And then all these colors next to each other. Analogous is essentially the colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. So I recommend doing this where you can really get in there and adjust what you want to use. So I'm starting with red, and then I've got some nice going into oranges, and then going into pinks and purples. Kind of like that. Okay, so I'm gonna press OK. I'm going to say yes, I want to save it. And voila, there I go. I could actually change the name of this now. So it automatically just saved all of those as a group. This looks like very fruity, tooty. So okay. Let's go to the list view, and I can double click in there, and I'm going to call this Analogous. And then for this Analogous, I could just delete that folder. Okay, and then let's go back to here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I might want to delete one, so I might actually take this one out. Whoops, I just made another one. So yeah, click on the trash can if you want to delete one. And you might need to make this view bigger. This thing here means that whatever is in there is going to add the group. So that's another way to just quickly add that in. Okay, so I'm going to actually delete this one. Let's talk about making your complementary, which are across the color wheel. So I can go in here and let's do just a regular complementary. Complementary really just means 2. So you shouldn't really have too many colors in your color swatches for complementary. You might want to just use 3 instead of 5. I recommend that. And you know, you can get creative here and say you want to use, let's make a new folder, I'm going to call this complementary, and I want to use this color in there, and I'll say okay, and then I'm going to use like a mid, this is more mid-tone, I'll add that in. So, you know, you can add them individually, or you can just add them all and then delete. So when I'm finished, I should have 3 folders with different sets of colors: monochromatic, analogous, complementary. You shouldn't have more than 5 colors in each folder. So now you need to save these swatches. Let's go to this menu. We're going to go to Save Swatch Library as ASE. You can save this as your name, and then let's just call this triangles. ASE, put it as somewhere where you know where it's going to go. Press save, say okay. Say I, for whatever reason, deleted these and I want to open them again in the future. I'm going to go to this menu, and then I'm going to say Open Swatch Library, and then I'm going to do Other Library. And that's when you're going to find the thing that you saved.